Lesson for people in their 70s and 80s. What do they say to people in their 50s? For nearly 20 years, I've been sitting across from clients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And my favorite question to ask them is, if you could go back and whisper something to yourself at 50, what would you say? Their answers really surprised me, and today I want to show you 9 of them. I'll be honest with you about the 6th question, because this is what I'm trying to solve personally. Last spring, an 80-year-old client warned me that his window to correct mistakes might have closed. But yours hasn't closed, and mine hasn't closed. So let's start. The first lesson is not to miss what older clients call a golden window. They describe life as going through 3 distinct stages. Starting in your 20s and 30s, when your time and health are good for you, but you have little money. By the time I was in my 40s and 50s, my income was finally there. My body was still cooperating, but time had quietly disappeared into my career and family obligations. Then, in your 70s and 80s, you travel with plenty of time and money. But now your body is writing checks, and it can't always cash them. Most people ignore the 4th small window, usually landing in their 50s and 60s, with 3 people lining up at the same time. Time, money, and health lined up at the same time. It is a window into Tuscany, Patagonia, and the road trips children have delayed since childhood. Don't delay until next year. One of my 78-year-old clients described it as bluntly as possible, telling me, "I've been rich since I was 65, and I just think I'll always have knees." The second lesson is that protecting renewal times is as important as wages. Old customers described 3 kinds of time: career time, love time, and renewal time. And almost everyone silently sacrificed the 3rd time while protecting the first 2. Renewal time is anything that refreshes you. Long walks, carpentry, gardening, weightlifting, fishing, sitting in the sauna, anything that turns an hour into 10 minutes. I was distracted by our conversation about a 56-year-old client of mine who recently resumed surfing after a 30-year break. He began to imagine his life as a pie chart, dividing it into career, family, faith, fitness, and surfing, and then deliberately narrowing the career segment so that the surfing segment could grow. His reason is simple, he said. Surfing is not an eternal sport. Walking is. I want to do it when my body still allows. I want to pay dividends for the next 30 years in my 50s. The third lesson is to learn to say no without guilt. In the first half of your life, it will get you where you are. For work, for moving, for extra projects that others don't want. But in your 50s, math turns quietly because every affirmation of something you don't care about turns into a denial of what you do. Older clients almost universally told me that they wanted to avoid talking too often, saying things that drained friendships, saying trivial obligations, and eating weekend promises that they would never come back. It is the only most underrated retirement skill I've encountered, and muscles have to work out before retirement, not after. Lesson 4 sounds simple, but it takes time to really feel that time is more valuable than money, and you can actually buy more time for yourself. The old saying that time is money turned out to be retrograde. Money is compound, time is subtractive. After age 50, your money may start making its own money. but your time will only get less and less, and it will accelerate every year. You may have noticed it is part of what most people miss out on entirely, and you can't make more time, but you can definitely buy it back. And there are two ways to do that. The first is to invest in health. Now, because reliable research shows that sustained strength training and aerobic exercise in your 50s can extend not only your life, but also your healthy life, which means the year you can actually do something. The second way is to pay someone else to handle jobs you hate. Oil changes you don't want to do, platforms that need electric cleaning, gutters waiting to be cleaned, etc. When you outsource these things, you're not slacking off. You're trading dollars for hours in a limited life. You put money in the pockets of people who need work. My favorite customer mantra captures this perfectly. I do what I do best, and I pay for the rest. Lesson 5. Healthy habits in your 50s offer an unprecedented return on investment. Yes, one of my clients, whom I would call Linda, suddenly lost her husband when she was 67, and about 14 months later, I saw her again for some tax planning, and when she came in, I really didn't recognize her. 10 years later, no surgery, no miracle drugs. After her husband's death, she developed 3 habits and stuck to them. Practicing yoga 3 times a week, taking walks every morning without exception, and quietly reading and praying for 20 minutes before going to bed. It was she who told me, I feel like I've added a decade of healthy time to my life. And honestly, I totally believe her. The compounding effect of small daily habits between the ages of 50 and 65 turns out to be shocking, and it will be better than anything your portfolio has done for you in the same period. Lesson 6 is my personal obsession, the Vigilance Status Game. Will Storr has written an entire book under that name, and the basic idea is that we constantly buy things to show success or integrate into a group that rarely produces the lasting happiness we expect. One of my clients retired at 62 and decided 6 months later to finally buy the Porsche he had dreamed of since he was 16. The numbers worked, his plans barely changed, and he pulled the trigger without hesitation. 6 months after buying the car, I asked him how he was, and he smiled and told me, honestly, the excitement lasted about 3 weeks, and I should rent a car for a month. If I were honest with myself, I almost bought an expensive watch last year because I lacked pride, validation, comparison, and a vague fear that as I grew older, the world quietly began to see me as irrelevant. These forces are real, and they hit you especially hard in your 50s and 60s. Customer advice has been nagging me. Renting before buying an ID card. Rent a weekend sports car and boat before you buy, and you may find that the experience itself is what you really want, not ownership. I am not saying don't buy good stuff. I mean, 10 more minutes to ask yourself why. Lesson 7. Surprised almost everyone because your retirement costs would initially rise, not fall, despite conventional wisdom. Standard story claims decline after retirement. And in my experience, the opposite can easily happen in the first 2 or 3 years. Once people finally had time, they finally spent their money on things that had dragged on for decades. Travel, kitchen renovations, grandchildren, new cars in the driveway. My team now does build hypothetical scenarios into customer plans. because the actual first-year numbers are almost always higher than people estimate. It is a practical way to track your actual spending in your 50s from now on, using tools like Money or Copilot, or even the basic spreadsheet you updated on Sunday. Real numbers trump all speculation, saving you a little heart disease in your first year of retirement. Lesson 8 is about reconnecting now, not when you should have time. One of my clients retired at 58 and decided to find a best man at the wedding. He lost contact with his best man 25 years ago when life was too busy for both of them. When they finally got together, he told me, "It felt like they hung up yesterday," a sign of a true friend. Almost every client over 75 would say the same thing to me. "I wish I could make more calls, more frequently and faster." Career and family devour your 40s and 50s. And friendships wither quietly when you're not looking. When everyone is fine, connect with old friends, join clubs, and travel with siblings. It is those connections that get you through the last third of your life. Lesson 9, not just retire from something, but retire to something. Many of the high achievers I work with are in their 50s, exhausted, not thinking about goals at all, just trying to stop. They could stop, so they stopped, and then I got a call 6 months later. Is this really retirement? The customers who really thrive after retirement are those who have a clear goal before pulling the trigger, whether it means a hobby, a career, a craft, a relationship, a faith community, or an unfinished career in their 20s. Leisure alone does not create life. That is the point. That is all I left you. Those who actually live this kind of life almost never tell me they want to work more, and almost never want to be more active. What they told me was that they wanted to be more visible, to take better care of their bodies, to stop talking often, and to stop chasing things that didn't matter. There are 2 lessons to be learned, just 2. Write them where you can actually see them this week. The best phase of your life is actually ahead, but it is not built by accident. It was built on purpose and is working now.